Hi, everyone. I wish I could see you all in front of me, but I have my imagination, so I'm going to be thinking about what it's like to be in the beautiful Southwest Harbor Children's Library room with all of our friends nearby and all of our wonderful books, and I will imagine that happening while I tell you about what I've been doing since I saw you last. I have been reading a lot of books, which might not surprise you. And I've also been spending a lot of time in nature. I've been going outside and taking a lot of walks from my house. My house is on the top of a little hill, and then if I walk down the hill to the bottom of the hill, there's a little bog there, and at dusk, I can hear the spring peepers. And I love to hear the spring peepers. They're so wonderful, and they remind me of just the fabulousness of spring starting. So I made an audio recording while I was down there one night, and I'm going to share that with you in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to tell you about some Peeper books. Miss Susan and I have been talking on the phone, and we've discovered that both of us in the springtime read Peeper books and poems to the different age children that we read to. So Miss Susan shared with me her favorite Peeper book. It's called Peeping and Sleeping by Fran Manushkin, and it's about a little boy and his dad who take a flashlight and go down the hill at their house to the little swamp at the bottom of the hill where they find spring peepers. And it's a really fun read, very sweet. And then they pop home pretending that they are frogs. And when they get home, they have a surprise. And you will find out that surprise if you go to the Southwest Harbor Library and check out Peeping and Sleeping as soon as the library is open again. Another book that Miss Susan recommended that she likes a lot that I had never heard of is one that is written and illustrated by Ann Hunter. It's called Possum and Peeper, and it's about a little peeper who wakes up first thing in the spring, and the possum hears the peeper, but he doesn't know what it is. So he's very curious, like a lot of people who are just waking up from a nap. And so he goes out into the forest and he sees his friends, and he and the other animals go through the forest trying to figure out who's making the peeping noises. And you can imagine that this turns into quite an adventure. So you can learn about that in this book, Possum and Peeper, also when we're back in the library. But until then, I am going to read you a poem by Jane Yolen. And it's part of a children's book of seasons that she has written. Jane Yolen is a wonderful children's author, but usually we know her from reading chapter books. So this is a new take for her. This is her poetry. And the poem that I will be reading is about spring. Oh, but first I need to give credit to John Wallner, who did the illustrations. Absolutely beautiful watercolors that I hope you are able to see. I will try and make that happen. So the name of the poem that I am going to read is Song of the Spring Peeper. All winter long I slept below a quilt of moss and bark and snow, till the steady drip of melt beat down, exposing undersheets of brown. Now birds wing north with naught to do, until I give the spring its cue. Peep, 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 peep. On a solitary bough the red wing sings, but few the changes that blackbird rings. No rising moon, no brand new breeze are called up by his squawking pleas. He claims his space, his place, his air, for none but blackbirds does he care. Peep, 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 peep. And who else waits? Bears now awoke, meandering the morning cloak, a flutter in a warming breeze, and on the graying banks snow fleas and little nymphs brief bound-up lives upon whose flesh the trout survives. Violets first, then ferns unfold, and trillium ignore the cold that lingers just a day or two before the world springs up anew. Peep, 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 peep. The nights grow shorter, the days grow long, but the beat of the world is the beat of my song. Do you see the moss and the fiddlehead frond, like bullhead lily, or the ripples in the pond? They are merely settings for the tune I sing, as up from the edge of the world I bring spring. Peep, 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 peep. But where does spring start? In the throat, the high sweet chirp, the single note that pipes through swamp across the pond to reed-edged banks and fields beyond, past woods to towns, to the edge of the world. And then and there the spring unfurled. My song, my gift, my world, my spring. And all I have to do is sing. Peep, 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 peep. And you can see the little spring peepers here. I hope that you get to hear some spring peepers, and I hope that we'll be able to see you at the library soon. Bye.